This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live. We're on a little early tonight because history is getting ready to be made. We're going to flip over to the big monitor and head to the Senate floor. The Republicans, after sending the confirmation out of committee, Saturday, I think, is when they voted to end debate. There's 30 hours of debate. They debated overnight last night in order to get to this point tonight. Now that the 30 hours is over, it should be right around 7 o'clock. Well, they will vote to confirm President Trump's third justice to the Supreme Court. And ironically, I switched to my Halloween graphics tonight, right before we're getting ready to watch The Witch get put on the bench. So we got Mitch McConnell running his fucking cocksucker on the Senate floor right now.
You know, you can't win them all, and elections have consequences.
Ironic he should say that right before they're getting ready to get a bloodbath.
Exercise.
Tick, 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 tick.
Given to us by the American people.
7 days and some
That
change.
is entirely within the rules of the Senate and the Constitution of the United States.
You know what was in the rules of the Senate? That you should have brought Merrick Garland to a vote.
Think about how many times our Democratic friends have said,
His hand looks a little moldy, but it doesn't look black like it did the other day. Well, I don't know. Shit.
he does not like. How many times have we heard that? President Trump won't accept outcomes he does not like. Well, they're flunking that very test right before our eyes.
We've got plenty about Trump not wanting to accept the results of the election coming up later on in the show.
Well, the reason this outcome came about is because we had a series of successful elections. One of our two major political parties increasingly claims that any political system that deals them a setback is somehow illegitimate.
No, the Republicans in the Senate represent 15 million fewer people than the Democrats.
1 year ago, Senate Democrats sent the
Yet you hold the majority. That is why it is illegitimate.
an amicus brief that read like a note from a gangster film. They wrote, "The Supreme Court is not well." In their amicus brief, the Supreme Court is not well. Perhaps the court can heal itself before the public demands it be restructured.
Yes, we are going to pack the courts.
In March of this year, the Democratic leader stood outside the court, went over in front of the court.
The original what?
Multiple justices by name. Here's what he said.
We're watching a Senate confirmation hearing.
You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. You will pay the price.
And you're going
Democratic
to.
leader of the Senate in front of the Supreme Court, mentioning justices by name, and in effect saying, if you rule the wrong way, bad things are going to happen. For multiple years now, Democrats in this body and on the presidential campaign stump have sought to revive the discredited concept of court packing.
What's he mean, discredited? There is nothing in the Constitution
Unprincipled assault on judicial
to stop
independence.
them from adding seats to the
Now
court.
They're thinking about repeating it. Former Vice President Biden, who spent decades condemning
Wasn't that a movie a couple years ago, The Witch? I watched that. It was really good.
Most importantly, the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg said last year, when asked about this, she said 9 is the right number.
Hey, if we're listening to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she said let somebody else fill her seat, you dumb motherfucker.
This issue later, have you? Ruth Bader Ginsburg said 9 is the right number.
not her call.
These latest threats follow decades of subtler attempts to take independent judges and essentially put them on political probation. You don't rule
This
the way
motherfucker is still mad over Robert Bork
power might happen.
from the
How many
fucking
conservative
80s,
nominees have Democrats and their
who,
media
might I add, that Republicans voted against.
tip the balance of the
And Reagan's next nomination was approved, bipartisan. So clearly there was something wrong
how many hard right turns the courts have supposedly taken in
with
our-
Robert Bork.
all this ominous talk is a transparent attempt to apply improper pressure
No,
to impartial judges.
applying improper pressure is the Federalist Society, the Judicial Watch. All the organizations that Sheldon Whitehouse ran down the other day that are just an interconnected series of think tanks that force these conservative judges on us in order to get pro-business rulings.
This is not about separation of powers. It's a hostage situation.
This is a power grab by Mitch McConnell.
Elections come and go. Political power is never permanent, but the consequences could be cataclysmic if our colleagues across the aisle let partisan passions boil over and scorch the ground rules of our government. The
This
framers
guy
want
has the
Senate
nerve to say,
to be the nation's firewall. Over and over, this institution, our institution, has stood up to stop recklessness that could have damaged our country forever. So tonight, colleagues were called on to do that again.
seriously, did he have a stroke?
A woman of unparalleled ability and temperament on the Supreme
The
Court.
closed captioning
Take another historic step toward a
is way off because he's talking out the side of his mouth.
but does not grasp after power that our constitutional system intentionally assigns somewhere else. And we can stand loud and clear that the United States Senate does not bow to intemperate threats.
No, it bows to corporate money.
Should make every single senator proud. So I urge my colleagues to do just that.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yep, here we go.
Mr. Alexander. Ms. Baldwin. Mr. Barrasso.
Now, I believe that the Democrats have been holding speeches, but they're not here in the chamber for this vote.
A quorum is present. Can I read? All post-cloture time has expired. The question occurs on the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett.
That's what I was talking about, the cloture time. That's that 30 hours.
Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. A Senate. Is there a sufficient second? There is a sufficient second. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander. Ms. Baldwin. Mr. Barrasso. Mr. Bennett. Mrs. Blackburn.
Now, this vote's going to go through. They've got the votes.
Mr. Blunt.
Unless somebody pulls a McCain. But there would have to be two of them.
Mr. Braun.
And with Lisa Murkowski saying that she would vote for confirmation,
Mr. Burr.
they should absolutely have the
Ms.
votes.
Cantwell. Mrs. Capito. Mr. Cardin. Mr. Carper. Mr. Casey.
So it sounds like the Democrats are in the chamber.
Mr. Cassidy. Ms. Collins. Mr. Coons. Mr. Cornyn. Ms. Cortez Masto. Mr. Cotton. Mr. Kramer.
Mr. Cotton is already preparing himself for 2024,
Cruz.
which is another indication that Republicans are certain that Trump is losing.
Mr. Daines. Ms. Duckworth. Mr. Durbin. Mr. Enzi. Ms. Ernst. Mrs. Feinstein. Mrs. Fisher. Mr. Gardner. Mrs. Gillibrand.
I didn't hear what Dianne Feinstein said, but I wouldn't be surprised if she voted A on it.
Ms. Harris. Ms. Hassan. Mr. Hawley. Mr. Heinrich. Ms. Hirono. Mr. Hoven. Mrs. Hyde-Smith. Mr. Inhofe. Mr. Johnson.
Now, I believe I saw that Clarence Thomas is already at the White House, and that they're actually going to swear her in immediately.
Mr. Kennedy. Mr. King. Ms. Klobuchar. Mr. Langford. Mr. Leahy. Mr. Lee. Mrs. Leffler. Mr. Manchin. Mr. Markey.
And people like Loeffler voting. She was appointed by the governor of
Mr.
Georgia.
McConnell.
She's in an election right now. She's almost certainly going to lose.
Ms. McSally.
She's got a challenger from both a
Mr. Merkley.
more Republican,
Mr. Moran.
and they have a strong Democratic challenger, and that is absolutely going to go to a runoff.
Mrs. Murray.
I think it's January 15th is when the Georgia runoff is going to happen. We may not know who has control of the Senate until that race is finished on January the 15th. Or January 5th.
Portman.
There was a 5 in there somewhere.
Mr. Reed. Mr. Risch. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Romney.
Uh-oh. Here comes Smokey.
Ms. Rosen.
Come on, buddy. Lay down.
Mr. Rounds. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Sass. Mr. Schatz. Mr.
Now, Ben
Schumer.
Sass, after he came out, trashed Trump. We played the audio last week.
Mr. Scott of South Carolina.
Still voting for his nominee.
Mrs. Shaheen. Mr. Shelby. Ms. Sinema. Ms. Smith. Ms. Stabenow. Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Perfect. Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Thune. Mr. Tillis. Mr. Toomey. Mr. Udall. Mr. Van Hollen. Mr. Warner. Ms. Warren. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wyden.
Tammy Duckworth
Mr. Young.
coming out there, giving her no. I believe that's it. The final vote's going to be like 52-47. So somebody is missing tonight, I believe. One of the
Senators
Republicans
voted
that's
in the
quarantined.
affirmative. Alexander, Barrasso, Blackburn, Blunt, Bozeman, Braun, Burr, Capito, Cassidy, Cornyn, Cotton, Kramer, Crapo, Cruz, Daines, Enzi, Ernst, Fisher, Gardner, Graham, Grassley, Hawley, Hovind, Heidsmith, Inhofe, Johnson,
So many of these names probably won't be there come next year.
Lee, Leffler, McConnell, McSally,
Hopefully,
Moran,
Joni Ernst,
Murkowski,
Martha
Hall,
McSally,
Perdue, Portman,
Purdue.
Roberts.
Hopefully, there's
Romney,
going to be a Senator
Brown,
Ossoff
Rubio,
in Purdue's place.
Sass, Scott of Florida, Scott of South Carolina, Shelby, Sullivan, Thune, Tillis,
Most importantly,
Wicker,
Lindsey Graham is almost certainly losing. And that's going to be fun. Polls have it neck and neck right now. But if the advantage isn't to Harrison, if the
Senators
wind's not his
voting
back,
in the
I don't know what is.
Baldwin, Blumenthal, Booker, Brown, Cantwell, Cardin,
Jamie Harrison has raised the most
Collins,
money ever in
Cortez
any
Master,
Senate race.
Duckworth,
And Graham is lagging far behind.
Gillibrand, Harris,
Boy, has he been whining about it too.
Heinrich,
All through this fucking
King,
process, he's been whining about the money he's not getting.
Leahy,
Lindsey Graham, it's because people fucking hate your guts.
Merkley, Murphy,
And it's because of shit like this. This is one of the reasons why you're losing your seat.
Sanders, Schumer, Shaheen, Sinema, Smith, Van Hollen, Warner, Warren, Whitehouse, Wyden. Mr. Menendez, no. Mr. Schatz, no. Mr. Reed, no.
Word going around is that Bernie's wanting to be labor secretary. And then Elizabeth Warren is angling for treasury secretary. I'm for it. But if Bernie remains in the Senate, he will be the chairman of the banking committee should Democrats take the Senate, which it looks incredibly likely. This is going to be the second election in my lifetime that is a bloodbath for Republicans. Because they're just not popular. The only reason they have been able to creep back in is because after 2008, the liberals went back to sleep. They didn't pay any attention. If the Democrats want to keep power,
Miss Stabenow.
they are going to have to focus on these midterm races. Luckily for us, this will be the first time that the Democrats will have control of the Congress since 1990 and get to draw the districts after the census. Republicans getting to draw districts in 2000 and in 2010. I can't stress to you how much of a factor that has been in the rot in our government. So thank God the Democrats get to finally redraw the districts this time.
No.
But I don't have much faith that the liberals are going to come in and try to strong arm the Republicans in order to get things through that they need to. if they do, it will strictly be because of pressure from the left. The ranks of people like AOC, Ilhan Omar, Katie Porter,
No.
Cori Bush is going to be joining them when Congress is seated in January. We've got a big night coming up, a week from tomorrow. I'm going to be taking the air at 6 p.m. We're going to go till 6 a.m. or until a winner is declared. $50-50 whether we'll know Biden has won on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. It's going to take him winning a state like Florida, North Carolina, Georgia. One where they get to go ahead and count the votes, the early votes. Or to win a swing state like Pennsylvania so outright that they'll be able to call it. Now, the polls are incredibly close in Pennsylvania right now, as well as Ohio. You can take Michigan, Wisconsin. And if he does those on election night, then he's won. It's just all about when we'll be able to call the race. People should be prepared that it might be a couple of days, even a week, before we know the results. Hopefully it won't be, and that's one of the reasons why I changed course and I'm going to go vote for Biden. It needs to be so overwhelming on the night of that Trump is not going to be able to pull any funny business. And pulling funny business is one of the reasons why they were so concerned with ramming this judge through as quickly as they can. Because they wanted her to be able to rule should something happen like 2000. Like the Brooks Brothers riots in Miami-Dade County over the hanging Chads. The Supreme Court stopped the count while Bush was ahead. That is how he became president. Had the count continued, Al Gore would have been shown to be the winner, which he was, and he would have been seated as the president.
It will come to order. Are there any senators in the chamber who wish to vote or change their vote? If not, on this vote, the yeas are 52, the nays are 48. The nomination of Amy Coney Barrett of Indiana to be an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States is confirmed.
Well, there you have it. I thought there was somebody missing, but I called the vote. It's a dark day for America. But this is what happens when your government isn't representative of the people. And I keep warning stupid ass right wingers. You and even fucking liberals. If the people don't feel properly represented by their government, they will rise up. That is the reason why people are in the streets right now. You will only see more of it. This neoliberal agenda has to be stopped. Everything wrong with this country points back to the election of Reagan and the ascendance of this evangelical, hard right, idiotic conservative with their Rush Limbaugh and their Bill O'Reillys, and their Sean Hannitys, getting paid millions to shovel bullshit into the minds of idiots who lap it up because they want to believe it. They don't want to live in the real world. They don't want to know how the world actually is. They've made a bet that they are better off under white supremacy than they are under democracy. So we're going to stick around here for a little bit. We're going to see if they're going to flip to the White House. As I said, Clarence Thomas was ready to swear her in. I don't know why. Do they get to pick a justice? I was not aware of that. I would have thought that it would have been Chief Justice Roberts who would swear her in. What up, Rockin' Jack? What up, Calvin? Well, thank you. I knew you would enjoy it. Apropos night, too, because we put the witch on the Supreme Court. I think this backfires on Republicans. That's the bright side of it. Hey, now, come on, Sotomayor. That's a hottie right there. Acting like ACB is something to look at. I will take Sotomayor any day. I'm fucking with you. No, man. Like, Roberts is probably the hottest Supreme Court justice. Come on, man. That's a good-looking man. Even I've got to admit that. He's got those rugged, chisel good looks. Was PBS stopping on us? See what NBC News has got going on here.
Great videos. You don't need any equipment, and it's so easy.
They're still on the floor. Apparently the swearing in is going to take place here shortly. Yeah, that's my answer, John Roberts. He's the hottest SCOTUS. Okay, dude. What's going on? But you should probably check on your right-wing friends. Now, as some of you may know, I follow a lot of the QAnon people. I've got a lot of friends that are right-wingers, and they totally don't realize what's getting ready to happen to them. I would like to see your ranking, yes. And if it's not Robert Sotomayor... Okay... A lot of them know that they're fucked. Smart ones know they're fucked. Those are just few and far in between. There are a lot of delusional right-wingers who, honest to God, think Trump is going to win. I mean, there are right-wingers that think Trump is going to win the popular vote. Now, I mean, I will concede that it's possible, like 5% chance, that somehow he loses the popular vote by 5 million, 7 million, and still wins the Electoral College. It's not likely at all. But there is absolutely no way he's winning the popular vote. I would put money that the Democrats are going to take the Senate. Republicans are acting like the Democrats are going to take the Senate. That's another reason to jam through Amy Coney Barrett real fast. Am I going to cry when Trump gets reelected? Well, I didn't cry when he got elected the first time. God, right-wingers are fucking morons. You should probably cry. I mean, it's obvious that should Trump get reelected, the Constitution is out the door. He's already said he's going to fire the FBI, the head of the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ.
Really only asked him one question. Do you understand you're not part of the
What
executive?
the fuck is Rick Scott doing?
And Amy Coney Barrett clearly understands that. That's what she said when I sat down with her. So this
God, is he so weird looking?
proud of being able to vote for somebody as wonderful as Amy Coney Barrett, and I know for the next decade she's going to be a wonderful member of the Supreme Court and do a great job.
As you can see, our numbers
Fuck you, Marcia.
for this press conference because people want to have a good word to say about Justice Barrett and about the process that we have carried forward. It's been such an honor to be a part of the Judiciary Committee and to work through this process with Chairman Graham, who has been so capable as we have gone through the review process and holding the hearing. We appreciate that leadership that was brought to this entire process. I also
You take Kagan over Roberts?
much I appreciate hearing from them and how they have
Trump's
weighed
not winning.
in on this
That's
issue.
impossible.
I heard from Tennesseans who said, you know, I've changed my mind
The most likely scenario is that
in the presidential race.
it's possible that he looks like he's ahead on election night. He throws a challenge at the court. He floods
of the caliber
Facebook
of your Supreme
with
Court
ads saying he won.
nominee. Joni,
That's a likely scenario.
just a touch about how this shows
And I don't know
place, this
how
table
our government
for
withstands
women
that.
come from the political center and center right. And while our Democratic colleagues chose
I mean, no, Pennsylvania going red isn't going to be an indication because Joe is competitive in Georgia. Joe is competitive in Arizona. He doesn't need to win Pennsylvania, but he probably will. But Pennsylvania, we're not going to know Pennsylvania on election night. It's one of those states where they can't count the ballots until election day.
She would not submit to the women's agenda that the leftists think that a woman has to submit to in order to be recognized as a
Well, I mean, technically, if you're a constitutional originalist, then you can't sit on the Supreme Court.
through this process.
Is that a leftist agenda?
Broken a barrier and will open the door for other women to realize there is a seat at the table for them.
Not only is this a great day for every little girl,
I don't even know who this is.
this is a great day for America.
You notice I can just name senators off the top of my head when I see them. Cindy Hyde-Smith. Okay.
She has found her place in this world. Tonight,
Thank you.
she has found her place exactly where she needs to be. She has the temperament of exactly what we need,
I'm a political junkie, and I was like, who the fuck is this?
full of grace. She is the mother that I wished every child had. Today, God really smiled on us, and He gave us amazing grace.
You know, voting for Judge Amy Coney Barrett to become an Associate Justice on the Supreme Court was not just historic for me. It was my obligation to the people of North Dakota, as well as a high personal honor. You know, just over 2 years ago,
It's like the parade of assholes from states where it's a coronavirus hotspot.
when late in the campaign, the Democratic incumbent I was running against chose to engage in the smear campaign against another outstanding American jurist and decided to vote against the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh. Well, that week, that very week, my opponent raised nearly 3 times more money than I spent in the entire campaign that week. And the Supreme Court became the #1 issue in the race. So to somehow suggest, there's no way I would or could suggest that this vote would be delayed. Because to do so, to somehow wait until after the election, when people from someplace other than North Dakota might be tempted to elect a president other than Donald Trump, to nominate a jurist other than, well, let's just say the nearly perfect Amy Coney Barrett to be a Supreme Court justice, would rightly
The nearly perfect.
and do great damage to my conscience. This is a great night.
These people are in a cult.
Well, it's a great day for Indiana and a great day for America. I was proud to cast my vote with great enthusiasm for Judge Amy Coney Barrett to serve as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court.
Are we going to hear from all 52 of these assholes?
Process for America, but a fairly short process with respect to procedure. It's been a long
Flexing hard as fuck.
There's been great efforts made by Senate Democrats to try and pull Amy Coney Barrett into the political fray. But she resisted those efforts time and again.
I think the Republicans have made the Supreme Court
The law as written in the Constitution.
a political issue.
We won.
It's not Democrats.
Republicans won. America won because Amy Coney...
Well, now, when they say that, they're making an ad populum argument that they have the majority of the people behind them, but that is
we couldn't be more proud.
not true in any way, shape, or form. Over the last 20 years, far more people have voted for Democrats than they have for Republicans. It's through gerrymandering and political machinations that they've been able to hold on to power. The majority of the country does not agree with these assholes.
And it's such a privilege to be here at a time in which Amy Coney Barrett deserved my vote, received my vote, as she becomes an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. It's a privilege because rarely, in fact, I would say this...
I just want the government to represent the people. And that's supposedly what we're founded on, right? Taxation without representation, yada, yada, yada. Well, let's make D.C. a state. Let's make Puerto Rico a state. And now, that's all I ever hear Democrats talking about is those two. Well, we got fucking, what, 5, 6, 7 other territories?
...is the law of the land. Not
make them states, too.
Only there to be a jurist. And I'm also pleased that she's from the Midwest, that she has that Midwest background, and I look forward to her faithful service to the American people, but more importantly, to the Constitution of the United States.
I'm just saying they're making an ad populum argument that they have the will of the people behind them. They do not.
Well, I have to say this was probably the easiest whip we've ever had. It's just because we had a great story to tell. We had a great nominee who was her own best representative when it came to convincing not only the judiciary...
What are they praising her about? She was on the federal bench for 3 fucking years.
Justice of the United States. And so I'm grateful. We got a number of Judiciary Committee members, or we did have here, we still have one here, for the great work that they did in preparing for this. And I will tell you that, like...
I'd hope you didn't let Lindsey Graham anywhere near you. He will not get tested for coronavirus, and he's almost certainly been exposed to it.
...to the Senate was paved by the unprecedented Schumer filibuster of appellate court judges back in the early 2000s. That was something that at the time became a major issue around the country. It was probably the principal issue in my campaign for the United States Senate. And so,
God, I remember it was 2005 when they were doing talking about the nuclear option. They nuked that for the judges, for the appellate court judges.
On the Supreme Court of the United States. So I, like my colleagues, join in congratulating Amy Coney Barrett as the new associate.
I remember being shocked that they were bucking norms that bad in 2005.
Before coming to the United States Senate, I served as the governor of North Dakota for 10 years. And in that time, I had the opportunity to appoint a lot
He looks exactly like a motherfucker from North Dakota.
Judges, many to the state district courts, but also to the state Supreme Court. And of course, the first thing I always looked for was judicial temperament. And there's no question that Amy Coney Barrett has judicial temperament.
Well, there's a reason why political accounts opinions are shit.
But the other
Because
thing
he's a poop boy.
is a judge that would enforce the Constitution and enforce the law. Somebody who is a strict constructionist who would uphold the Constitution, not legislate from the bench. And again, Amy Coney Barrett, Judge Barrett, has demonstrated not only...
No, that's exactly what they want. They want legislation from the bench. They want to overturn Oglefeld.
But she has demonstrated very clearly that she
They want to overturn Roe v. Wade.
The Constitution and the law, as is her duty on the Supreme Court. And that's what's best for my state of North Dakota. That's what's best for our great nation. And so I congratulate her and wish her the absolute best.
Today is an important victory for the United States Constitution. Today, President Donald Trump delivered on one of the central promises he made to the American people, to nominate principled constitutionalists to the U.S. Supreme Court. Today, the Republican majority in the United States Senate delivered on one of the principal promises we made to the American people, to confirm principled constitutionalists to the U.S. Supreme Court.
I remember when Al Franken said that
Amy Coney Barrett to succeed Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court.
Nobody in the Senate even likes Ted Cruz. But Lester Holt's cutting in here. What's going on?
Confirmation in American history. All Senate Republicans but one voted to confirm Barrett. All Democrats voted against. The vote comes just 8 days before Election Day. Barrett is scheduled to be sworn in at the White House later tonight, becoming the third Supreme Court justice.
Okay, later
named by
tonight.
President Trump, cementing a solid...
All right. I thought it was happening imminently, and that's why I was sticking with the... I guess they're calling that a press conference. It was more like a parade of political chuckle fucks. So, should Trump win a week from tomorrow? He has already stated that he will immediately fire FBI Director Christopher Wray, Gina Haspel, and Defense Secretary Mark Esper. And also, apparently, Bill Barr. Fuck, I couldn't remember his name there for a second. Apparently, Bill Barr is on the chopping block as well. He's pissed at all these people for not launching an investigation into his political opponents. So he's going ahead and tipping his hand. Should he win re-election, he is going to prosecute Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. That's what a dictator does. That has a chilling effect. I can't stress enough how fucking scary that is. Luckily, it's not likely to happen. He's not going to win the popular vote. That's impossible. He's going to lose by 5, 7, 10 million. So, there's that. Whether he stays in power or not, that's the question. Because he's going to throw legal challenges at it. And just like producer Dave from Echoplex Media said, he's going to flood Facebook with ads saying he's won that night. Be prepared for it. As I said, these people, the right-wing fucking morons that are cheering him on, they're nuts. They led a parade of idiots through downtown Manhattan. Apparently Rudy was with them. just saying, I watched Borat on Friday night, and if I was Rudy Giuliani, I'd never show my fucking face in public again. You make an excellent point. Now, last time, Trump had a percentage and a half plus of people that wouldn't admit that they would vote for him. I think that swings the opposite way this time. I think there are Republicans that won't admit that they're not going to vote for him. So I think you're exactly right.
Guys.
Fuck you, Rudy. Now, Fox News shared this story out, and I saw one of my conservative friends, and it talked about the horror that the caravan faced. And then when you clicked on the story, it said they threw eggs at the caravan and yelled at them. And goddamn, right-wingers are the biggest fucking snowflakes on the planet. The horror of an egg and getting shouted at. But now it's not like that motherfucker actually read the story. He didn't know that there was an egg. He just saw the headline about the horror. Oh my God, the horror. More violence from the left wing. We'll go over that here in a second. They're just pelting them with eggs. They deserve to be. By the way, these people aren't from Manhattan. Blessed be the fruit. I'll give you an amen on that one. Oh, he grabbed the Blue Lives flag and walked on it. Yes! That guy's my hero. Heather Heyer in Charlottesville. Have you ever seen me wear the shirt that says "Fuck Nazis"? I wear it a lot. The organization that I got that shirt from made that shirt for the Heather Heyer Foundation. So yeah, these assholes were just driving through Manhattan trying to provoke people. And that's a lot of, I get that from right-wingers a lot of times. They'll say incendiary things on their Facebook in order to get people to argue with them, and then they're like, oh, you attacked me. You knew exactly what you were doing. You're a shit poster. Don't get upset when somebody comes and gives it back to you. Pisses me off more than anything. Now, at Trump's rally last night, we saw the Blue Lives flag there. I want to point this out. This motherfucker has actually switched out the American flag with the Blue Lives flag. How much more fascist can you get? And this is absolutely significant. He is signaling in the last week that he is going to be a totalitarian strongman, and he is hoping to rally the people that want him to be a totalitarian strongman against people like me, to shut me the fuck up. Well, it ain't gonna happen. This is the last vestige of your neoliberal con job. This 40 years of Reaganomics finally comes to an end. I thought I was done with it after the election of 2006. But here we are, 14 years later. Does Raw Story have enough ads on it? So Carl Bernstein of Woodward and Bernstein. Woodward, the guy that Trump has twice given interviews to and then bashed because he wrote a book about the interviews he gave to him. So Bernstein is reporting that there are several GOP senators that are actually plotting against Trump should he try to pull some funny business. I'm glad you said Reaganomics worked. I'm glad you said that. Because this graph proves it didn't fucking work. And anyone that says it did, you're going against your own best interest. This shit right here, wages staying flat since 1980, don't fucking benefit you. But hey, be sure to put the commies in their place, right? You'll shut me up, and then you'll make fucking less money. Jesus Christ. Bernstein did not mention the names of the senators, but he did add that there was a power play being created behind the scenes if Donald Trump used provocative acts to try to undermine the Constitution. Now, let's go over this again. I had an argument today with a guy that said it's okay to criticize both sides. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. This isn't a both sides thing. Nobody that worked for Joe Biden came out and said that he's a threat to the Constitution. When the president's own defense secretary comes out and says he is a threat to the Constitution, I don't have much respect for Mad Dog Mattis. But maybe, perhaps we should listen to him on this one. But I showed it to one of my right-wing friends, and they're like, oh, he's just a disgruntled former employee. I'm like, he's a decorated fucking general that was the defense secretary. I don't think a decorated general is going to just throw around words willy-nilly without regard for what they mean. I'm going to guess that this Marine general is very measured in the things he says. So if such a person denounces the president and describes him as a threat to the Constitution, maybe you should listen to him. But hey, right-wingers are morons. I don't exactly know what they're going to be able to pull, the senators, that is. Because it's not going to be up to them. It's going to go to the courts.
The president has given wishy-washy answers on whether he will accept the election results. What happens if Trump loses the election but refuses to accept the results?
Well, one, I don't think he's been wishy-washy about it. I think
he hasn't.
He's very strenuous about telling people around him that he intends to use every tool at his command to see that there is no way that the Democrats and Joe Biden.
Well, here's the thing. Is he's most likely going to go to jail if he leaves office. That's the only thing that's been protecting him. Is a fucking memo from, the 70s that they can't indict a sitting president? So fucking stupid. Now, Sparkles and I were talking about it last night. It's unfortunate that we've got a guy like Biden coming in and we're not going to get to shove a fucking pole up Trump's ass and march him down the fucking street a la Gaddafi. We're not going to get to hang the motherfucker and his family upside down the way they did Mussolini. My God, would I love to participate in that.
Biden can win this election. The only way would be a landslide that would be so undeniable that the Republican senators on the Hill would have to go to Trump and tell him, you cannot challenge this election. You cannot.
He's going to. I don't. The senators are not going to be able to stop him.
A methodology in which he intends to prolong the count, to make it impossible, perhaps, for the Electoral College, when it's supposed to meet, to reach a majority. That's part of his strategy, so that there might not be a majority going for Joe Biden. And then the election would go to the House. But everything he is looking at, and I get some of this from Republicans on the Hill, who are terribly, terribly concerned about what they regard as the president's brush with unconstitutional and unthinkable acts to undermine the electoral process. And they are very, very worried about it. Many Republicans in the Senate.
Well, then grow some fucking balls and come out and say something about it. That's why I'm tired of fucking idiot-ass right-wingers.
Plan that if the president provokes a constitutional crisis, which they believe he will.
He will.
He will try to find a way to let law and order and the Constitution prevail.
So members of his own party are planning to take action if he does what he is sort of threatening to do.
10, pardon me. Yes, there are about 6, 8, 10 members of the Senate. Republicans in the Senate are talking with each other about how to restrain what they...
Those 5, 6, 10 should have voted for impeachment. If they were that concerned, where the fuck were they in January?
Regard as an out-of-control, almost madman, to use the term of one of those senators, who is determined to do anything.
He is a madman.
Office, regardless of its legality, regardless of how far it crosses lines that are unthinkable in terms of authoritarianism. They are very, very worried. And that also includes people who talk to Mitch McConnell, that they know that McConnell, too, is worried about what this president is liable to do. There is real concern because...
Well, then they should have stepped up and said something about it.
Held responsible for his actions if they don't do something about his provocative acts to undermine the Constitution. If he goes as far in this scorched earth campaign as they fear he will, some of these senators.
They are going to be held responsible. They are going to feel the brunt of it electorally in 7 days and some change. This time next week, we're going to be having a very interesting show. Now, I'm going to come on the air at 6 p.m. on Election Day. I will not go off the air until we have a winner or 6 a.m. So all night long on the freaking stream. But it's a good thing that there's some people in the GOP that are finally showing that they have some backbone. Where the fuck have they been for years? So we've got a rep here he was on with Chuck Todd over the weekend. And he's clearly concerned about the QAnon stupid motherfuckers in his party.
You were very aggressive in working with somebody across on the other side of the aisle trying to get a bipartisan resolution to condemn this wacky QAnon conspiracy that has led to some violent actions by some of these believers. And, of course, there's Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican candidate for Congress in Georgia that's likely to become a member of Congress. Here you got a large majority of the House to condemn QAnon. And then very quietly this week we saw that the Republican Party has officially endorsed Marjorie Taylor Greene and donated the maximum amount of money that the NRCC can do.
Because it's not about principles. It's all about fucking power. That's why the Republicans that had concern about Trump didn't come forward during impeachment. Yeah, if we lose this country, if we lose the Constitution, the thing you guys keep saying you believe in, what are you going to do? You could have stopped it with impeachment, but you didn't. But it's all about power.
What message does that send to the party as a whole that they did that?
So I might as well just piss everybody off, Chuck. So
come on, piss us off.
If we're doing this, if we're looking at the spread of misinformation as part of something just to pander to a certain subset of voters.
Hold on, let me see what his message says here. Oh, That was just a notification from his computer. That wasn't a message from somebody. I was hoping there was a private message from his mistress or something pop up on screen.
And that's the thing that I've been talking about. Yes, I agree with most of the policies for limited government and growth. And a lot of what President Trump has done in this district has been wonderful. But when we start to actually
like what?
As a party that's part of this, anti-Semitic conspiracy.
He's from Charlottesville. He's representing Charlottesville. A lot of what Trump has done in your district. There was a Nazi rally in your district just a couple of years ago. Jesus Christ.
Believes that there's some kind of pedophilia cabal, on the Democratic side of the House. I think we're in for a rough ride. And I just wish we could stick to policy, because if we stick to policy, it's almost impossible to vote for Joe Biden, but we're not. And I guess I scratch my head as a former intelligence officer, Chuck, is what are we doing here? Like I said before.
Wait. If we stuck to policy, what policy does Trump have? Besides appealing to the QAnon types. And the fucking weird Christians that are Zionists and anti-Semitic at the same time. That's what Trump does.
That believe Lord of the Rings is a documentary. And the fact that we're trying to appeal to them is just ridiculous to me.
You still a Republican?
I tell you what, I'm a Republican. What I thought a constitutional